I have to ask you about the containers themselves. Do you all use new containers, reused containers, one-time use containers?
We use
Where
new
do you source it
containers.
from?
Yeah, new containers, one-use containers. We don't use used very frequently at all. I think we've only done one in the past like quarter, and that's frankly because during COVID, the supply chain got so out of whack. For lack of a better phrase, used containers cost more than new at one point, and that's sort of adjusted it, but it's still not. They're still very similar in price, and so with the used container, sure, we've built with them before safely. We have to remove all the oxidation, the rust, strip it down, repaint it. Like we only get them that come out of like US ports because US Customs doesn't release any container that has hazardous materials. We won't go buy them through a third party who is a trucking company because there's no Carfax for a container. So we have to get them from the sources we trust, right? And there are dozens of different suppliers, different price points in the market. The shipping container industry, I say, is like an onion. Every layer you peel back is like another billionaire who's got a supply and makes all their money on like one or two relationships or this little different approach. But we just buy from the suppliers we trust. They get them from the ports, and they're always newer one-trip containers.
How has that been? Because your business is so reliant on the supply of containers. How have you managed to weather the storm over the last 2 years with all these crazy, like you said, the price points of used containers are higher than new containers, and the supply of containers? And how have you managed to push through all that?
Yeah, so we've been very fortunate. We haven't had any problem getting containers, right? So the shortage was, I would say, almost semi-artificial, right? It was a shortage because the containers make a lot of one-way trips to the US, and they need to get back to places to be loaded up for cargo. So during all this, tons of containers are coming in, but they get used once and they get stored. And maybe they're going to make their trip back somewhere, usually to Asia to reload, or they go for sale. And so what happened is the ship lines are like, okay, well, our used containers, we're pulling back that supply because they're booked, right? The cargo needs to come. Meanwhile, the factors in Asia were cranking out new ones consistently. They started landing. And so what we found is that like there was a lot of inventory of unused containers, and maybe the price did go up, but we're not in year one where we're buying it and reselling it. We're doing a huge value add. So we just absorbed the cost a bit, or we pass it on to the consumer, and it was very insignificant in what we're trying to do here. If a container went up $500, that really hurt a lot of the people in the industry. We think about 70% of the buy and sell container operators went out of business, or they pivoted to doing a value add service like us, making them into a 60,000 plus home, right? That
But
extra
you all got
$500 is,
started earlier, so you had a little bit of, I don't know, advantage over them.
yeah, it's really that we're making it into something way more valuable.
Yeah.
So if let's hope it doesn't, if price doubles again, our market who we sell to, they're not as affected to it.